the end, that proved to be, I think, the best strategy. It was successful. He won. When we came to the general election, and I thought it was one of the more interesting general elections that I've ever covered. I thought we had two very good candidates. I have known John McCain for 30 years, and there's no one person in American politics that I like more or respect more. He's a genuine American hero. I think all of us would agree on that. But I think it is always difficult for any incumbent party that has been in office for 8 years to win basically a third term. People just generally about that time want to change the page, turn the page. And when you have 80% of the American people polling saying they think the country is going in the wrong direction, that made it a very, very tall hill for John McCain to climb. I think when the financial crisis hit in September, it was all but impossible. I don't think any Republican could have won the presidency after that. But the other part of it is Barack Obama proved to be a very good candidate, and I think it's fair to say that John McCain did not run what I would call a very good campaign. I would say that for this reason. In most elections that I've covered, in a primary, Democrats generally run to the left because that's where their base of their party is, that's where the big givers are, that's where the true believers are, that's where the people are who are really going to get out and work. So they run to the left during the primary. Republicans always run to the right for the very same reason. That's where their big givers are. That's where their true believers are. That's where the people are who are really going to get out and work for them. John McCain managed to do the absolute reverse of that. During the primary, he ran to the left of the other Republicans, because basically he is to the left of the other Republicans. He sort of backed into the nomination. I will always believe that he got the nomination because Mike Huckabee won Iowa. Up until that point, Huckabee had been thought of as sort of an amusing, nice person who was best known for his comedic skills, and I think it kind of shook Republicans up. I think there were a lot of Republicans who decided this is just not going to work for our party, and so you saw the reemergence of McCain. He went on to get the nomination. But once he got to the general election, what always happens in a general election is that candidates of both parties always run back toward the center, because that's where the independent vote is that generally decides who's going to win the election. McCain, in my view, when he put Sarah Palin on the ticket, instead of running toward the center, ran to the right in the general election, which almost never works. I think he thought he had to shore up the base of his party, and I think by putting her on the ticket, he probably did get some votes on the right side of his party that he would not have gotten otherwise. But I think in doing so, he lost votes in the center. The McCain campaign had the idea that Sarah Palin on the ticket might attract some of the disgruntled Democrats, especially women voters, who had been so strong for Hillary Clinton that they were saying they were not going to vote for Barack Obama. They thought by putting Governor Palin on the ticket, they might get some of those votes. I never thought that. I never thought that would work, and I think it's fair to say that it just didn't work. But it was quite a campaign. I think one of the best campaigns that I have ever covered. Yes, it had its moments when we probably learned more about plumbers than we really needed to know. We learned a whole lot about putting lipstick on pigs that probably we didn't need to know. But this was a campaign, my friends, where there were times when it really made me feel good to be an American. And for me, that moment was when I stepped onto the campus of Ole Miss for that first presidential debate. Why was it a moment for me? Because when I was a young reporter, I had just gotten out of the Air Force, and I was sent in 1962 down to Ole Miss because there was a young black man named James Meredith who was trying to enroll there. And The governor of Mississippi had gone to the campus and said no black person will ever enroll there. I got there. I'd been in the Air Force, just gotten out, had been in the Air Force 3 years, had never heard a shot fired in anger. And that night, when riots broke out on the campus of Ole Miss, I probably came the closest to being killed that I ever have in in all my experience as a reporter, including the time I was in Vietnam. It was terrifying. That night, 144 people were hurt and wounded. 2 people were killed, 2 reporters, and snipers got up on one of the dorms and atop the dorms and started shooting down into the crowd. It was total bedlam that night. I have to say, one of the most terrifying nights I have ever spent as a reporter. And yet, when I went back to that campus for the first time last fall to see that debate and the preparations, the first person I ran into was the governor of Mississippi. He wasn't there to try to block people from coming to school there. It's Haley Barbour, Republican governor, and I said, how's it going, Governor? And he said, I'm here to make sure everything goes perfectly. There were black kids and white kids working together to make sure, as the governor said, that everything goes just perfectly. And you know what? It did go perfectly. And here you had Barack Obama and John McCain in a civil, good discussion of the issues on the campus where 144 people had been wounded on that night that I had been there for the first time. You know, it made me stop and think that we have a long way to go in this country, but we have also gone a very long way, I think. We face enormous problems in America, but what we must never forget, it seems to me, that our country's true strength rests not on our weapons, but on our values. Talking about civil rights, Hubert Humphrey once said that the 1964 Civil Rights Act was the single most effective foreign policy achievement of the last half of the 20th century, the single most effective foreign policy achievement. Not because it had anything to do with foreign policy, but because it told the rest of the world who we are, what we stand for, and that it works. During the Cold War, our weapons kept the Soviet Union at bay, but it was not our weapons that won the Cold War. What won the Cold War is when the people on the other side of the Iron Curtain looked across the Iron Curtain. And in the age of television, there are no secrets on the other side of the curtain or on the other side of the track. Everybody knows everything. When they looked across that wall and saw that the people on the other side had a better way of life, they wanted some of it. They didn't want rockets and guns. They wanted washing machines and television sets and good schools where their children could be educated, where they could have a better life than they had had. They wanted a government that they could have a say in how it operated. And when they saw that, and when they realized what was going on there, those walls came down. The Berlin Wall came down, and all across Eastern Europe, the Iron Curtain came down, and eventually, and much of it because of the policies of the United States of America during the Reagan era, the Soviet Union collapsed. That is what won the Cold War. American values, what we stand for, and that must be our message to the rest of the world. I think one of the most important things that Barack Obama has said so far is when he said, torture will not be a part of American policy. That is the story we want to tell the rest of the world. That is the story we want to tell our children. When other countries and other people admire and respect us, it will make us far more secure than any weapon ever can. John McCain is a great man of good character, and had he been elected president, I think he would have been a good president. And I would have certainly wished and wanted that to be so. Just as I wish and want Barack Obama to succeed. How could anyone wish otherwise? But regardless of how this election came out, As I looked over that great crowd that was gathered in Washington, and you know, it is the largest group of people who've ever come to Washington for any reason or any occasion. More than 2 million people came there. And I'd like to add what I think the most important statistic of that day: not only one person was arrested during that entire day. Now, I believe that 70 some odd people were arrested at the Super Bowl, and there were only 70,000 people. Think about it. More than 2 million people, visitors. The mood was so good. People were so happy. There was such a spirit there that day. One person was arrested, and only one. We were privileged, I think, last year, and it came back to me during that time. We were privileged to see not only the results of an election. My friends, we saw in our time a memorable event in the history of this country. It was a moment that I think all of us, Democrats, Republicans, whatever our political persuasion, all of us should and can be very proud of that day. Thank you very much.